Hey friends! I wanted to pop in and do a little bit of an IVF update for you guys. So we're actually getting the ball rolling now. Today that I'm recording this is June, what day is it? June 20th, 2024. And a lot has gone on since my last IVF video, I guess, my first IVF video. So we went ahead and had our initial teletherapy appointment last Tuesday where we met our doctor. Did I say teletherapy? I meant telehealth. I do teletherapy with my son for his occupational therapy and speech, etc. And so my brain is stuck there. But our telehealth appointment, we met our doctor online on Tuesday last week. And keep in mind that obviously your mileage may vary. We're coming from a different clinic, and so we've already done a lot of testing that if you're just starting out, you're gonna have to do. So our genetic test, for example, was already done. That's why we're here in the first place, is because we know that for our situation, we're not doing IVF because of PCOS or endometriosis or a blocked fallopian tube, anything like that. We're doing it specifically because I have a genetic condition. So now that we know that, we're moving forward in a particular fashion. And so we met our doctor, we discussed all of our previous testing and what we're gonna do moving forward. I did ask him, what is the protocol like once we begin? And he was hesitant to answer me, which I didn't love because I'm a very type A person. I like knowing what to expect, but I also understand his hesitance because it's going to be different for everybody, and he doesn't want to set me up only to like have to tell me later, actually that's not going to work in your case because of this or this or this. So basically he said, I don't want to talk about protocol just yet. Let's do these tests first so we see exactly where we're at today, right now. And then once we get those results in, we can move forward. So among the testing that he requested, he wanted my husband to do both blood work analysis and a sperm test. So obviously both of those things are important. The blood work, I believe, is something that my husband had already done, but we were having a hard time finding those results to upload to their system for them. So they just asked us to repeat them. No big deal. And the sperm analysis has not happened yet, but it'll be happening soon. And then the things I had to do. I have a lab order for fasting lab work. I'm assuming they want to see stuff like my A1C, my cholesterol, like normal basic stuff, which I just had done a couple months ago, and I probably could just submit that to them. But I'm sure that they're going to request other things as well. So I figure I might as well just go get it all done again. Why not? I also had to go in this last Tuesday. So it went pretty fast a couple days ago. On the 18th, I went into the actual facility and I did some lab work with them there, some blood work, and I also did a uterine and abdominal ultrasound. Now, the reason that things are moving as quickly as they are is because it so happens that my cycle started over the weekend. So we saw the doctor on Tuesday, I got my period on Saturday, and these labs that I had to go in to do at the facility are supposed to happen on day 3 or 4 of your cycle. So I had to come in on Tuesday because that was the last bit of that window. If I hadn't come in on Tuesday, if for whatever reason I wouldn't have been able to go in, then I would have had to wait until next month to get all these tests started. So it just so happened because of the timing of my cycle that we're able to kind of roll right into all these tests. So I got my lab work done because they want to check my follicle stimulating hormone and my estradiol, which is a byproduct of estrogen. These are things that I regularly test here at home with my Mira analyzer, which is a urine hormone tracker for trying to conceive. But again, they want to see blood and they want to see it with their own lab. So I went ahead and I let them do that. I did the ultrasound. I asked them what they were looking for exactly, and she said, just to look at your uterus and the follicles. Okay, so they got that information as well. Yesterday, Wednesday, we drove up to the surgical facility because the doctor's office, I guess, or the team, the fertility team that we went with has locations all over Florida, but there's only one location in particular that does the actual embryo transfers, egg retrievals, etc., because they're set up as like a surgical site with anesthesiologists and so on. The other locations don't have that. So there's one location that's near-ish to us. By that I mean it's in the same city. It's an hour away from me. That's where I went to get my ultrasound and my labs on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we had to drive up an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, to visit with the anesthesiologist. The reason I have to do this, again, your mileage may vary, is because if you're over a certain BMI, and I think BMI is a terrible indicator of health. It's not an indicator of health. It was never meant to be. It's simply an indicator of mass created by a mathematician, not a doctor. And I'm not sure why doctors still cling to it so much as an indicator of somebody's health or as a prognostic tool of like, if your BMI is such, then we can look forward to this for you. Like, it shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately it is. And a lot of IVF clinics that I spoke to flat out would not take me as a client because of my BMI, which currently, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, because if you're watching this, I'm assuming it might be helpful for you to know that. I'll tell you right now what my BMI is. My BMI is 43.8, so just under 44. The clinic we were previously with wouldn't do IVF with me until I got my BMI down to 42. When I started, my BMI was like 49 or 50. So I did have to lose a substantial amount of weight to get to where I am now. And I forget if I spoke about that in my first IVF video or not, but if I didn't, I guess I'll eventually make a video about that as well. But point is that this clinic was willing to take me as a patient, but if you fall into a certain level of BMI, a certain range, if you will, then they want you to see the anesthesiologist and have the anesthesiologist themselves decide whether or not it's safe for you to undergo the procedure, because they do have to put you under for the egg retrieval, and in some cases bigger bodies don't do as well with anesthesia. So I wish I'd asked him what exactly he's going to be using to sedate me, and I completely forgot while we were there, but pretty much when we saw the man, it took like 3 to 5 minutes. He told me, I'm not even going to make you an appointment officially. I'm not going to charge you either, because this is going to be so quick that it's really not, it's not all that. Like, we don't have to do all that. So we drove up the hour and a half, walked right in to see the doctor. He was super, super nice. He didn't even ask for my weight, but we had already had a conversation on the phone, so I guess he already knew what my weight was. But he just gave me a once over. He asked me to put my head all the way back, put it all the way down, move it side to side. So he was checking my range of motion. He also had me open my mouth wide and for him so he could see my airway. And he said that based on what he sees, physically, I'm fine. He doesn't see any issue. He doesn't see any concern. I told him, if you have literally any indication that something might not go well, I want you to tell me. And he's like, listen, if I had any indication this might not go well, I wouldn't give you the okay. I really do think that you're going to be just fine. So he officially cleared me. We can move forward. The alternative would have been him telling me, I don't feel comfortable just yet at your present weight. You should lose X amount more and then we'll do it. And then we would have had to wait however many weeks or months it takes me to lose X amount. But he says that based on the look of me and, you know, my airway, etc., he feels good about it. So that's a big check. And now moving forward into next week, I am going to do my fasting labs next week, because that was the earliest I was going to be able to get an appointment at the local lab for a fasting situation. So next week I'm doing my fasting labs. Next week my husband's going to be getting his sperm analysis done. And also next week I'm doing another test that is day of your cycle specific. So again, it has to happen when it's happening, because otherwise we have to wait a whole other month to get this test done and therefore this result. The test is called, it's an SIS, a saline infusion sonohysterogram. So the doctor wanted me to do an HSG, and I forget what HSG stands for, hysterosalpinogram. Okay, I already did an HSG. You might have seen my very emotional video talking about the results of it or the test itself, but I'll post that up here, or I'll post them in the description box of this video if you want to check it out. It is very emotional. I cry a lot, but it's what led us to this point. The HSG, they basically put contrast, like the kind you use for a CT scan, into your uterus and fallopian tubes, and they take x-rays so that they can visualize exactly the shape and like landscape, if you will, of your entire reproductive system. Some people find it very uncomfortable. Some people find it intolerably, traumatizingly painful. I fell into that second category. It was awful and not something I ever hope to ever repeat again. The SIS, which is something that I'm going to be doing on Tuesday, and it's something that has to happen between days 6 and 12 of your cycle, is similar in that they're also going to be flushing my system with something, but it's just for the uterine cavity. So it doesn't have to go as far as the fallopian tubes. It's to evaluate the lining of the uterus and the shape of the uterine cavity, and what they use is just saline rather than contrast. So I am told that this is between unnoticeable to mildly crampy and uncomfortable. I can handle mildly crampy and uncomfortable. Hopefully it doesn't get much worse than that. Certainly, if I could handle the HSG, I could handle this, but that does not mean I want to have to handle anything remotely like an HSG ever again, because it was intolerably, traumatizingly painful, as I said. And I don't say this to you to scare you in case you need to, if you have to have one done. I don't want to terrify you, but I do want to prepare you that it is going to, for me it hurt. Some people it doesn't hurt. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, oh, it'll be fine, you'll be fine. And you will be fine. I'm fine. But in the moment, I would never want to do that again. I'll leave it at that. So the SIS is happening on Tuesday, and then my fasting labs, my husband's sperm test, and then nothing for the week that follows. And the week that follows that, so about 3 weeks from now, we're going to have a follow-up with our doctor. So we're making it a point to get all of our testing done as early as possible so that everything has an opportunity to be processed, reviewed, what have you. And then we'll see the doctor on July 10th. That's when our next appointment with him is. Assuming that by then he'll have all of the results of everything we've done, and we can discuss what happens next at that point. That will also be before my next cycle begins. So if all goes well, it's possible that we might start the process of egg retrieval in less than a month, but I genuinely don't know. I've heard something about having to start birth control first, which I don't love the idea of that. I've been off hormonal birth control for 13, 14 years now. But it might be something I have to do in order to do the egg retrieval. I also know that stim shots are something that has to happen before the egg retrieval, where I'm injecting my belly for like a week or two straight before the retrieval happens. But I don't know if these are both things that happen, and I'm assuming they're things that happen in every case, but I don't know in what order they happen. I don't know if they both happen at the same time, or do I have to spend a cycle on birth control before I start the cycle of stims? I don't know. These are the sorts of questions that I wanted the doctor to tell me about last time, and he hesitated to tell me. So that's where we're at right now. That's what's happened so far. Not to say that this is what you can expect in your experience, because as I've said a billion times, your mileage may vary, but I find that the more I search into IVF or ask questions about IVF, I'm either coming up on dead ends or I'm coming up with so much information that I really don't even know what to do with it. So I figured the most helpful thing I could do is share with you guys explicitly and in detail my experience, because even if my experience is not exactly like yours, hopefully it will at least give you some inkling of what you can expect. So I hope you found this video helpful. I will let you guys know updates as we move on, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.